changer is the most important thing you can do to ensure that the boiler will perform at its maximum efficiency. So I'm going to remove the cover, and if the boiler has been running, it'll be hot. So just to prevent any accidental burns, you can cool off the chamber just by leaving the power on temporarily and removing the signal wire from the blower. So if you reach in, there's 4 wires attached to the blower. You can just pull that out and the blower will start up on high speed. You can leave that on for a minute or two until the heat exchanger is cooled down and the water is cool. Then you can just shut off the power. And then you want to shut off the gas because you're going to open the gas line. And we've loosened the nuts on here, but I'll demonstrate how to get into the heat exchanger. It's a fairly quick process, and you'll need these tools. With these tools, you start, after you've got the cover off, taking the side jacket panel off by removing the 2 5/16 jacket screws, and then set the jacket aside. You're going to loosen up the gas line connection with 2 adjustable wrenches and remove that. Then there are 6 wires to remove. We'll do 4 of them right away. There's a Phillips head screw holding the plug onto the gas valve, so we'll remove that. So there's 1 wire, 2, 3, and 4. Then you're going to remove the 6 10mm nuts. And to get access to the top one, we're just going to remove the plate that holds the display and set it up top. It's important not to let the plate drop because the wires could pull out of the back of the display. So we'll just set it up on top of the boiler. There's plenty of wire to get it up there. So I've taken off all the nuts except for the last one. And with the 10mm wrench, you just loosen that last one up. This is the last one to take off. It'll hold the plate in place while you take the other 5 nuts off. And once you take this nut off, you can pull the whole plate straight out. And now you have access to the other wire on the blower. So if you just remove that plug, you can set the plate down and look into the chamber. Now the chamber should look like this. If the boiler's been running, it's tuned properly, you have good venting, it should look like a stainless steel heat exchanger, maybe a little bit of a tan or golden color to it from the heat. But there shouldn't be any buildup of crust or any kind of debris, which is an indication most oftentimes of a cross-contamination of the combustion air. So the flue gases are going outside, and they're allowed to hang around the vent termination where they're pulled in by the combustion air duct. And if you do that, you're burning the flue gases as well as the oxygen in the fuel, and that will leave a solid buildup on the heat exchanger. If that happens, you can clean it, but it's important to also correct the venting situation. The best way to clean it is with some type of mineral buildup remover, like Gridline or CLR. You can buy that in a small squirt bottle. The one precaution that you have to take is the insulation plate or the insulation board in the back of the chamber will dissolve with water or liquid, so you don't want that to fall apart. So the best thing to do is to cut a piece of cardboard about the same shape as the insulation plate, and then just put a square, a cut in there so you can get it in place. And now you can spray into the chamber and not have to worry about getting the insulation board wet. So with that in place, you can spray in here, and then you can clean with a brass brush or a plastic brush, but it's important not to use a steel brush. Black brass or plastic is the best. So you just run around the chamber on all surfaces that you can reach, and once you've cleaned that off, just take plain water and spray it in. The water and any of the cleaning material and the debris will go down into the condensate system where it'll be flushed out when the boiler is running. So once you've accomplished that, remember to take out the cardboard and reassemble as we've shown. Now, while you have the plate off, there's another thing that you can inspect. You have the whole burner and the igniter system, the gas valve, and the blower all attached. This is a great time to check the gap on the ignition electrode. We want 3/16 of an inch. You can measure it with an Allen key, a 3/16 Allen key. The feeler gauge is the easiest way to do it. The burner should look like this, a little bit brown, and the electrode should be this kind of gray aluminum material. If it's kind of brown or red, there's some indication that maybe you've got a little carbon buildup on there, and you can tune up the boiler a little bit better to get rid of that, and you can just clean it off with some grit cloth or sandpaper. So once that's all done, you can put it back. But it's much better to check the gap with the plate off. It can be removed. You can take the electrode out of the plate through the front, but it goes through a fairly small hole, and putting it back sometimes can squeeze that gap a little bit too small. So it's better to do it with the plate off. One of the questions that we frequently get is on the plate there's a gasket to prevent the flue gases from leaking around it. We have a fiberglass rope and rubber. And the question that we often get is, does that have to be replaced? And it's very rare. I don't recall ever seeing an incident where that had to be replaced, so that's really not an issue. You put the burner back on, and again, it's easier to put the connectors, the electrical connectors, back on the blower when it's in this position, rather than waiting until it's back on and you have to reach underneath. So we'll just put this back on, being careful that the studs here don't perforate the insulation on the plate itself. Just gently slide it back into place and reverse the process that we did before to take it off, starting with the nut on the left side of the channel. Just tighten that up. Now with both hands you can go back and reconnect the gas valve, put the plugs and the nuts back on here, and put the plate, put the side jacket panel on, and you're done.